Hi, this is Amara, your spiritual tour guide. I have a great topic to share with you today. It's about being open and being closed. So, a little bit of what I mean by this. When I was a little girl, my mother used to take me to one of those giant, oh, look, I have a friend, to one of those giant warehouse food stores with her. And when we walked in, I felt like I was expanding to fill the entire space. And that was a little uncomfortable. And I kind of felt like I was um, like losing losing the boundaries of myself or getting very spacey and confused by the situation. So later on, I realized that my aura could expand or contract and that I had some ability to decide what that was. So, but fast forward, people often tell me I'm very open. Um, and that's kind of, I don't know, welcoming energy or being open. But one of the things that I learned to do over time, being very intuitive and empathic, was to shield, because sometimes people's energy around me was a little overwhelming. And so I sort of made the edges of my aura, wherever that happened to be in a particular day, be a filter or a shield to whatever is coming at me. So that worked for me for many years. And I would have this kind of idea that the shields went up, kind of made an egg around me whenever I needed them, and then they would come down when I didn't need them, or that they would always be there in some kind of filtration process. So that's a good idea, but I think at this point, I don't find shielding to be a good metaphor anymore, because when we are completely open and allowing spirit to come through us, we're totally safe. There is no need for a shield. Nothing coming at us is real except for love. Nothing going through us is real except for love. So having a big shield to protect me isn't really necessary anymore, because anything that's coming to me is love. So what I mean by this is whenever I think I'm seeing a mistake or somebody angry or upset in the world, it's just a misperception of reality, because really all I'm seeing is things that are whole, healed, and holy, perfect, and all I'm seeing is love's presence. So if somebody's shouting at me, that's not the reality of love's presence, and it can't hurt me because it's not real. Somebody's coming at me with, some kind of energetic thing, it can't hurt me because I am open. I'm just letting this all come through me, come through and go away, come through and dissipate. So the shield is kind of about protecting yourself and believing that you're sometimes safe and sometimes not. And when you're completely open, it's allowing everything to just come and wash through you. So the difference here, I think, is a difference that I heard about from a friend of mine who was part of my spiritual group and also part of a Buddhist meditation group. And so the idea in the group that I'm in is we contain everything. We contain ourselves, we contain the space we're in. We say that we are celebrated in a circle, which is half above and half below the physical ground. Everything is a container, but there's lots of ways of moving energy. It doesn't have to be in a container. So I had this belief that everything had to be contained. And this friend of mine had a aneurysm in her brain. And the information that she got was that she had to make a choice. She had to make a choice of containing everything or being completely open, which is what she was being taught in her meditation group. So she chose to be completely open and to stop going back and forth between being too safe and then being totally open. or being too closed, of being totally open. So this is kind of possibly going against maybe some of the things that you've heard, because we in the community, we often will say, hey, you need to shield, you need to ground, you need to bring everything in. And I'm saying, well, maybe we don't, or maybe some of the times we do and some of the times we don't. Maybe more of what we're doing is being open and allowing love's presence to come through us, through our chakras, through our connection with the earth, through our connection with the sky, but being open. So last summer, I went to some spiritual land that I camp on. Pretty much, I've been doing this for more than 20 years, going to camp on the same land. It's an interfaith sanctuary of earth-based spirituality in Western Pennsylvania. And because there weren't that many people there and I hadn't been there in a couple of years, what I felt was this amazing power. And I was so open that the energy was sort of almost making me sick. Sick, because I don't really believe in sick. So I was shaking, I felt feverish, I felt overwhelmed, I had to lie down for a while, like many hours, and that's unusual for me. I'm sort of a natural grounder, so like that doesn't usually happen. And I was like, am I sick? Do I have a fever? What's going on? And then I went, you know what? I think it's the energy. So I put my shields up and that stopped. I wasn't sick anymore. I wasn't shaking. I didn't feel feverish. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm just not used to this amount of energy. So I did close a little bit, but it was more like a filter. So where I'm going with this is I'm going to encourage you to experiment with closing and opening. There may be still some situations where you want to close. That's totally fine. There may be some situations where you want to open. So how do you experience this in your body? So if you're visual, you might actually see closed, or have your, feel like your chakras are closed, or see your chakras closed. Or you might feel that in your body. You might even have a way of hearing it or sensing it in some other way, just knowing that you're open or closed. For me, it feels very much like my heart is open or my heart is closed, or that I'm going inward when I'm closed, and that I'm expanding when I'm going outward. Now, remember that the universe is continually expanding. So when we are open and allowing energy to come through us, or come into us and come out of us, we're going in the direction of the universe. It's actually easier. When we're shutting down and holding in, we're blocking that energy and we're containing it in our bodies. So it's actually harder, because instead of allowing whatever's happening to flow through, you are trying to hold on, like, gripping the steering wheel, trying to keep control instead of just allowing. So things can seem very overwhelming. And I'm using the metaphor of whatever is happening in your world, which might seem like illness, it might seem like problems, it might seem like, things that you're not expecting. It might seem like somebody yelling at you. It might seem like you having trouble at work or in a relationship. That's energy. That's all energy. There's no actual problem. It's just energy and how you're perceiving it. So the more you let that just go through you, the more it dissipates, the more you have room for love's presence to come through. So instead of holding on to whatever's happening, whatever the problem is, or whatever the difficulty that you're perceiving is, if you just let it go, then you are opening to what is true, which is love, ease, peace, joy. to keep flowing through you. So here's my example of this from this morning, and I guess last night. I have moved, as I've talked about in many videos. I moved in last summer, and I forgot to change my address with my health insurance. So my health insurance form for taxes went to my old address, and the person who's there now asked me to change the address. So I did that. I did what I thought I needed to do to change the address, and filled out a form, and filled out the form wrong. And I got this message last night at 5 o'clock when everything was already closed. Basically that I'm not qualified for having health insurance. So this was a thing for me to kind of like process, because I'm used to being responsible, and I'm used to being, having all my finances in order and doing the right thing. And so I had all these thoughts going through my head, like, oh, great, I'm going to lose my health insurance in the middle of the pandemic. Oh, hey, I messed up. Hey, I did this wrong. Hey, maybe I can, finagle my way. How do I figure this out? What can I do differently? How do I do this again? Like all this control and fear and stuff happening. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. I wonder what that's all about. So I decided that I was just going to look at it last night. So I was like, okay, I may or may not sleep. I may or may not be upset. None of that matters. I'm just going to be open to it. Clearly this is bringing stuff up for me. So let me look at the stuff. So, so I kind of just was like, okay, it's all going to work out. It's all going to be fine. What's the worst thing that happens? I lose my health insurance, and I get to reapply for it in November during the open enrollment period. I'm not sick. I don't think I'm going to be sick. Like I'm pretty believing in perfect health. So things are fine. So it's not really about that. So there was some financial stuff, which always pops up for me from time to time. I'm like, okay, totally gonna just watch that, be okay with it, bless it, it's fine. I'm okay with feeling whatever I'm feeling. And so then this morning I was like, okay, I woke up kind of early. I woke up at 6. The office doesn't open till 8. It's okay. I'm gonna just do my spiritual stuff, do some yoga. When it opens, I'll call. And there was a part of me that's like, it really doesn't make sense that I change my address and lose my health insurance. That doesn't really make sense. But I still was like kind of all up in that. I'm like, okay, everything's handled. Whatever this is fine. If this is a lesson for me dealing with the unknown, that's fine. If I'm going to not have health insurance for a while, that's fine. If it's some kind of financial thing, that'll all work out. Just keep watching it and being okay with it. And whenever my ego is like, chattering and telling me how everything's wrong, just like, okay, shh, it's okay. It's going to be fine. No, I am on the salary of God. God's taking care of me. I'm doing fine. So just kind of shushing it and saying, okay, you can be upset. It's okay. No problem. It's all going to be okay. Kind of like I would with a small child. It's all good. Have the emotions you're having. Totally okay. But it's all going to be fine, because I have faith that everything is always works itself out. So this morning, then I made the phone call. And yes, of course, you can just change your address. You don't need to, you don't lose your health insurance because I just filled out the wrong form. Totally okay. So all got fixed. It was all fine. But I had really gotten to a place inside myself where whatever happened, I lost my health insurance, if I had to pay for doctor's appointments that happened back till when I moved, that would be okay. I don't, whatever. It's all going to be fine. And so I really went into that phone call from a place of complete peace and and confidence. So, I didn't go in trying to bully the person or asking, freaking. I just was like, okay, hey, everything's good, having a good day. I'm sure you can help me, and like that kind of thing. And because I was in that state of peace, I was not suffering. So I was open to letting all of that come through, all of the emotions I was having, all of the worry I was having, and all of the confidence that everything was going to be okay. So that's the openness. None of it got stuck in me. And this is how we can look at how problems happen when we get those things stuck in us. That's when we start seeing problems with our health, problems with our finances, problems with all kinds of stuff. But as we just let it flow through and be open, the problems disappear because they're not really problems. So this is something you could try to just today watch, allow whatever's happening to happen, be okay with it, and try to open a little. And if that's not comfortable, you can close, but try to open a little bit more and see how that affects the experience you're having, because everything is always okay. I love you.